radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
All right. Good evening. How you doing? It's Fade to Black. Today is Monday, September 15th, 2025. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Let's do this, man. Yeah. What a crazy weekend. And here we are, Monday, kicking off a brand new week here on Fade to Black. Tonight, Katie Paige is here. Snippy the Horse. Tomorrow night, Tuesday, Reverend Peter Panagore is with us, and he is a death survivor. That's right. And a reverend. So we're going to go through all of that tomorrow night. Wednesday night, filmmaker Mark Christopher Lee is here. He's got a new film out about Rendlesham. It is called the Rendlesham UFO. We'll be talking about that Wednesday night. And then Thursday night, get ready, kids. Thursday night. That's right. It's your favorite night. It's an AMA. AMA-AJA, where you get to ask me anything. Yeah, so much fun. I love doing that with all of you. Before we get started tonight, well, let me get this out of the way too as well. 2026 is right around the corner. It's a couple of months away. Next week, by the way, or next month is my birthday. Just letting you know in case you're going to go gift shopping. Yeah, I don't know what you're going to do with the gifts, but you can go gift shopping. And let me know what you got me, and then you can just use it in your own kitchen. Coming up in 2026, the Conscious Life Expo. That is February 20th through the 23rd at the LAX Hilton right here in Los Angeles, California. Right after that is the Contact Modalities Expo, May 1st through the 3rd, 2026 in Delavan, Wisconsin at Delavan Lake at the Delavan Lake Resort. Come back from that for Contact in the Desert, May 28th through June 1st, 2026. Tickets are on sale this Thanksgiving Day. And then right after that, I head south to Peru with Brian Forrester for the Inca celebration of the sun, the winter solstice. And that is June 23rd through July 1st, 2026. And I know what you're saying. Wait, winter, that's in the middle of summer. That's because it's the southern hemisphere. Come on, man. Oh, you knew that. I come back from that. I head over to the UK for the Monty Python tour of Scotland, August 1st through the 9th, 2026. I come back from that. I turn straight around and head back to Peru. And this time it is Peru and Easter Island with Brian Forrester. And that's coming up in November 2026. All of this are in the links below over on our website and throughout social media. And a busy year. It's always busy around here. And so there you go. Now, I did just get back in town from shooting. I shot five episodes of Beyond Belief on Friday. And yeah, kind of sounds like a lot. And I guess for some it is. But it's really not when you have amazing guests, number one, and number two, a production team that supports you. And Gaia has got the best production team. And so all of that just relieves the pressure off of me, where all I have to do is know my guests, which I do, know the subjects, which I do. It's what I do, right? And all I have to worry about is wardrobe in between sets. I don't even have to do that, man. They pick it out for me. I just go in there, and then walk back out and do another amazing show. So that's what I did this weekend. I did want to mention this though. Last night I did something. I'm going to ask Katie about this when I bring her in. I did something I haven't done since this film was in movie theaters. Okay. I don't even know when it came out. A long time ago. Last night, I watched The Mummy with Brendan Fraser. I did. I did. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. And with everything that I know about Egypt now, the names and how they did stuff and the way that it was presented, I was like, well, historically, it's a little wacky, but man, it was great. It was great. It was great. I forgot how good it. I hadn't seen it in so long that I thought I knew the movie. I didn't know any of it. It was like I watched it for the first time, and it was pretty great. The scene that they had fighting the Mamelukes, the Turks, in the beginning in 1930, that happened. The battle that they did there and the way that it was portrayed, that happened with Napoleon in 1798. But I guess that is, first off, that is artistic license with the screenplay. All right, I get that. And you can't just like get all bunched up in the movie and start calling. Just enjoy it for what it is. All right. It was pretty interesting. It's pretty good. All right. So there you go. Watch The Mummy. Go back and watch. Maybe you have seen it lately. I haven't. I really enjoyed it. Tonight, Katie Paige is here. Tonight, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite cases that doesn't get discussed enough, but we've got new research. So tonight, we're going to be talking about Snippy the Horse. That's right. And now she's got new evidence. We're going to be talking about that. The case goes all the way back to 1967. And it is one of the earliest and most puzzling animal mutilation mysteries that we have. So we're going to do that. And then we're also going to talk about her current work up at Rocky Mountain Ranch. So we're going to do all of that and much more tonight with Katie Paige. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I would like to welcome for the first time to Fade to Black, Katie Paige. Katie, we've known each other forever.
I know. Hey,
He's got a Fade to Black shirt back there. I mean, it was just one of those things. I do want to mention and welcome Katie. It's so great to have you here.
it's great being here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is going to be great. And we waited too long to do this. This is one of those things where Katie, and we'll talk about it in a second, she does this post on social media, and I was busy. I'm gearing up. I'm packing my bags. I'm flying out. I'm doing that. She does a post, and I'm just not on social media, Katie. I'm not. But for some reason, I was doing something. I was there, and your post popped up. And I went, okay, I'm going to take care of this. And, this is what friends do. And I did, and everything. And then, boom, you're here on Monday. What is interesting about all of that is I didn't care what we were going to talk about. It was like, man, it's Katie. We can do whatever we want. And you ended up bringing your A game and Snippy the Horse. So that is fantastic. Now, I want to do this. I'm going to ask my moderators. Let's see, Bill, John, and Jessica. Katie, okay, Katie, I don't know if I should have you tell the story or I'll do the short version because I don't want Katie to spend 15 minutes on this. Is this Katie posted a warning shot last week, which was, I think I've lost my YouTube channel. I don't know if I can get it back. Does anybody have any advice? And I read that and was like, well, it's gone, right? That was my prayer. I was like, oh, shit. And so I reached out to Katie, and because Katie's next post was, I've got a new YouTube channel up, and everybody go and hit it and like and subscribe. I said, Katie, come on, Fade to Black, and we'll announce this on Fade to Black. So let's do this now. What I want my moderators to do is the link to the new YouTube channel on your website.
It is.
Okay. Bill, John, Jessica, head over to Katie's page grab her new YouTube channel link.
Actually, it might not. I don't know. I think it is, but it is. It's just Rocky Mountain Ranch Research with Katie Paige. If you just search that, the YouTube channel will come up because that's what it is.
Okay, everybody got that? Rocky Mountain
Ranch Research with Katie
Research with Katie Paige. Okay, type all of that in.
You can do it.
Yeah, you can do it. Get the link up and put it up in the chat for everybody, and we'll also put it in the description below.
Thank
But Katie's got to rebuild her YouTube channel, and that sucks.
Oh, it sucks. But you know what, Jimmy? It was perspective because here I was just, I had 2 under one email and a box popped up. You're deleting one with 3 subscribers, one video, hit delete, and then the main one was gone. And I was all mortified and did that post on Facebook and X and social media. And then very quickly, a good dear friend of mine, I found out was in the hospital that day. So perspective, that snapped me out of my pity party right away. And I'm like, it's a dang YouTube channel. I'll get it back. I just have to rebuild it. And, everything happens for a reason. I think some good things will come out of it. At least I'll have it branded this time and I've learned. And so learn the hard way. Sometimes you have to take the hard knocks.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So we got the links up.
Thank you.
We've got them up in the chat. Everybody go and follow and subscribe and do everything that you need to do to get Katie straightened out and rebuilt. I went through that. I don't know how many years ago. It's been a minute. I can't remember the particulars. That part doesn't matter. But our channel was either deleted or taken down I can't remember that part doesn't matter. But I have a company that manages my YouTube channel, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. So I reached out and they've managed my channel, I don't know, 12, 13 years, long time. And so I reached out to them, attorney, whatever, boom. And we got it back within a day. But I wouldn't have known how to do it. No, they do everything except have the button that says, okay, contact us.
Right. I know.
What are you tripping out on? Yeah. What are you tripping out on? Click here. And then for still have them, by the way, trip on this. This is about 7 or 8 years ago, maybe 9 years ago. I never check my Gmail. Okay. I don't. I've got a few Gmail accounts. I haven't opened up Gmail in forever. But for some reason, I clicked on Gmail and there's a email there from YouTube. Hi, my name is Bob, and I'm your account representative here at YouTube. Let me know if there's anything I can do. I'm just reaching out to say hello. I was like, this is fake, right? And I replied back. And yeah. And I've got a YouTube rep.
Nice.
Yeah.
One of only a few in the whole world.
Took us on a tour of the YouTube campus. Yeah. Lucked into that. And he explained it. No, there's too many channels. It's not everybody gets this. We just look at certain criteria and we look at that and then we pick and choose from there. And you got lucky. Yeah. Been with me ever since. Still there. Yeah. Pretty cool.
Nice.
Pretty cool.
Well, I learned you need a branded channel. So for those of you out there, make sure your channel, if you want it to stick around and you want to get it back, make sure it's a branded channel. I learned that lesson.
I have no idea.
I didn't either.
I have no idea. I don't run my stuff. So I wouldn't, what you're saying right there, I have no idea. None. Yeah. Zero. I would love to claim genius on this. No, not me. Not me. Let me get started here if I can with you. You've been a part of this community now for a while, and you've done a lot of stuff in the great state of Colorado too, as well, for the community. But what's the short story of how all of this happened?
With Snippy or with just
No,
getting
with
involved in general?
yeah, UFOs.
Yeah. Well, in a nutshell, the short version, like so many people out there, we have strange, unusual experiences. For me, the high strangeness of it all, we compartmentalize the paranormal, the UFOs, the cryptids. So my mother dated a gentleman that owned a very high strangeness ranch in the mid 70s, from 75 to 78. It's where Linda Moulton Howe got her start out there as an investigative journalist, with the rash of mutilations and strange, unusual helicopters. You name it, cryptids, hum sounds, on and on and on. And I was a little girl out there at the time, and me and my sister and my mom experienced a lot of strange things. And, after I raised my family and got my degree, I started watching documentaries and reading books and all that. And I was watching a documentary, heard about MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, and that was a good place to get my feet wet. Started there doing cases and whatnot. And then couple of years in, I bought this book right here, Hunt for the Skinwalker by George Knapp and Colm Kelleher. And this was before the Skinwalker show. They didn't have their TV show on History Channel yet. And I read the back and I thought, wow, this sounds a lot like what happened to me, in my childhood. And there's a chapter in here called Other Hotspots. And I started to read about a ranch in Colorado. And I was like, holy beep-a-deep beep. That's a ranch in my childhood. I knew it was. But what's interesting is APRO, which is the Aerial Phenomena Research Organization, they didn't know the actual location of the ranch. It was dubbed the Clearview Ranch. And in this book, I learned that Dr. Leo Sprinkle was PhD, was one of the investigators, APRO investigators, along with John Durr, PhD, and Peter Van Arsdale. And I quickly wrote, Dr. Leo Sprinkle's old school. So I wrote him a letter saying, hey, I know the people, I know the real location. And it's just been a rabbit hole ever since.
That is crazy. The A-list from APRO, right?
Yeah.
And I not to spend a whole lot of time on this, but APRO, for those that are new, 2017 and beyond, right? For those that are new to UFOs, they know about MUFON, but things like NICAP and APRO and the other older organizations, they've been forgotten. And APRO was a big deal, a big deal, a professional, and well, so is NICAP too, as well.
Yeah,
both
Kufos too. Yeah, Kufos too.
Well, yeah, but the Kufos and MUFON back then were small, and that's what's that's the crazy part about it. What those who have survived and everything else, and where we are today. Yes, I get that, but back then, APRO and NICAP might have been a CIA organization. There, I said it. I just said it out loud. Well, it's only because of their board of directors and they brought in all of these intelligence officials from the military and the Navy and everything else and the CIA to help push disclosure through in Washington. But when you look at the board of directors of NICAP, who is very important, you back up and you go, well, what was really going on there? APRO didn't have those issues.
Not as much, but I mean,
right.
I think all of these big organizations, and I hate to call out a particular one, but I think they all have an element of that. I know certainly they're all being watched and monitored by the CIA and other organizations to see what people are reporting. So that makes sense to me.
It goes on to this day.
Yeah.
If the intelligence agencies are not watching the UFO community and going to the conferences and checking out, then they're not doing their job.
Exactly.
So, man, I would be more freaked out if they didn't care. Right. Oh, really? You don't care? Oh, no, but they do. And they are paying attention for sure. And now back to the ranch though. And then we'll swing this over to Snippy. That area, the ranch, the Four Corners area, of course, Arizona and New Mexico and Colorado, no stranger to high strangeness. Wow, that's a heck of a sentence to weave together. But it's always been going on there, hasn't it?
Yeah, that was part of the question I always had. Now, this particular 60-acre ranch sat vacant for 10 years. And the big question for me, starting out way back, was how much of this was Black access government secret projects? Because we know through all the records and files through Dr. Sprinkle and others, and now that the APRO files are finally recovered, that there was a military presence. And I cornered Richard Doty in Laughlin, actually. Actually, you were there. That's where I got this T-shirt. But I wanted to know if he knew about the ranch, in the 70s, because I think he came in like 77. And I was curious if they knew about the Elbert County Ranch. And he said they knew. We know that there was soldiers there from Fort Carson. We know NORAD knew about it, the Air Force Academy. So there was definitely a military presence. So I wanted to know which came first, the military presence or the phenomena. And from what I've uncovered, going back, it was known as the Mulligan Homestead. And the Mulligans, Dick Mulligan, was born and raised on that property. Later in his life, he became the caretaker for Winter Park Ski Resort. And he was born in Ireland, and then moved his family was born from Ireland. He was born on the ranch, but he was known for having bold exaggeration and the gift of gab. And I'm thinking to myself and talking to a lot of locals, with the Native American history, and just goes way before the 70s, the strange, unusual things happening out there, and so many of these other high strangeness locations. So for sure, the high strangeness came before the military presence. So I thought that was interesting to know.
As we look at, and Linda's excellent work, I just spent another great weekend with Linda. She never stops bringing the information. I got to tell you, she's phenomenal. But her awareness and interest into cattle and animal mutilations certainly brought it forward, but she was in a position at a TV station and what she was doing to help elevate this through the media. But the country, back when all of this started to kick off, there was a lot of high strangeness going on in and around the country at that time. And cattle and animal mutilations were just another part of the fascination that the public had with this. But it truly went viral, didn't it?
It did. It went viral with Snippy before viral was viral. Snippy was the one that kicked it off. September 7th, he goes missing. They find him September 9th, 1967. But the San Luis Valley is still very much a hotspot. And even pre-Snippy, there were animal deaths and high strangeness going on. A lot of reports from 66. Snippy was just the one that kind of catapulted it. I mean, being able to work with the King family, and how this all came about really was this wonderful place right here, David Marler and the National UFO Historical Records Center out there in Rio Rancho, New Mexico, finally acquired the long lost APRO files, and they were missing for over 35 years. And so as soon as Dave, I've been to Dave's house before he moved it and everything. And so as soon as I learned he had the APRO files, I was like, oh my gosh, more stuff on the ranch. So I kind of went there selfishly to dig more on the Rocky Mountain Ranch. And Dave walks over to the table and plops down a stack of hundreds of photos never seen, a stack of audio recordings, hours and hours of audio that's never been heard, documents that have never been seen in over 35 years. And I was on the phone immediately with the King family. Carrie King, who is now running the Snippy event, contacted me 3 years ago. The question of the name came up a couple years ago, and then all of a sudden, as fate would have it, bam, Dave acquires the APRO files and it's kind of history now. And what's so cool about it's full circle for me in so many ways. But, the connection with Linda Howe obviously is important to me. But Dr. Leo Sprinkle played a big role in the Snippy case as well. So, and he along at the Rocky Mountain Ranch. So it was just kind of cool that we were able to do this new book and all this new research for the King family and share all the new photos and evidence and things like that. So
yeah, David Marler deserves a medal. We've got to figure that out, because the APRO files, the importance of them cannot be dismissed. But what had happened when APRO ended up folding, the founders had died like 6 months apart, but they had, by all accounts, this is off the top of my head, everybody, but they had around 17 1,000 case files. The majority of those case files were never in the public domain, were not part of Blue Book. These were independent research files from APRO, from people around the country. And what went with that were film, audio, images, maps, drawings, descriptions, just a ton of, file cabinet after file cabinet. But one thing led to another, change of hands, money, greed, everything comes into play here, right?
Right.
And the APRO files disappeared. And we wondered here in the UFO community if they would ever surface and if they would be properly archived. Well, here along comes David Marler, and we now have the APRO files back to, right, the ranch and also Snippy. So I'm going to bring up, this is Snippy for me back when this case was taking off. The photographs of Snippy's skull and face and everything that were public, those were high. Talk about, shot on film, were some of the craziest images this country has ever seen. Yeah. And very hard to explain. But here's Snippy. What are we looking at here?
Right. What I'd like to say just off the top, first of all, these are graphic, so they're sensitive images here. But there was so much more to this Snippy case where I thought it was really about just the first, worldwide recognized animal mutilation. It is truly a high strangeness case. And there's so much more to this case. And it tied directly to Rocky Mountain Ranch that my head, every day, my jaw was on the floor. One thing about this image in particular that I like to point out, now this was the earliest picture we have of Snippy was 9 days after. This was a little while later after he was more decomposed. But his back left rear leg, you can see, was also void of flesh and skin, which was not really reported. It's in a lot of the documents, but it wasn't really well known throughout, the newspapers and things like that. So his neck, his skull were void of flesh and, skin, and same with but you can clearly see too that his back right leg is broken. And in the APRO files is a huge map and the original calendar and so many cool things. And in one of the map drawings, they clearly made it clear that, this was Snippy, a 3-year-old Appaloosa gelding colt. And you can see where, first of all, I would like to say, too, there were 4 horses pastured on the King Ranch. There was a black horse named Smokey, and we do have a picture of Smokey, a brown horse named Sheba, a dapple gray lady who is Snippy's mother, and then Snippy. And what a lot of people don't know, too, and I was shocked to find out, is Smokey, the black horse, died the week before Snippy. And they thought that Smokey had died from a there's Smokey right there, and then that's Nellie Lewis holding Smokey, the black horse, and that's Agnes King. She was in her 80s. Another cool thing in the audio, we have audio of Agnes the day of Snippy's capture, September 7th. She heard a hum sound, got up. She didn't have her glasses on, and the recording's unbelievable because it's her actual voice. She saw a low-flying silver craft that day before they suspect Snippy was, captured that evening. But the horse she has there is a horse named Sheba. And if you notice Sheba's front legs, there's no coloring on Sheba's legs or Smokey. But Smokey died the week before of a supposed rattlesnake bite to the back hip because there was a little swelling. However, Smokey was 14 hands high and 1,200 pounds. A rattlesnake would only take down a horse if it got it on its muzzle or its throat and obstruct its breathing. So his death still remains a mystery. And there was another ranch right next to the King Ranch, Ernest Wellington's ranch, and they had so many animal deaths and strange, calves going blind and strange hoof growth and stuff like that. They named it the Dead Cow Ranch.
The Dead Cow Ranch.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you remember, and then we'll move on, but do you remember, it's probably 2-3 years ago, the cattle mutilations in Texas?
I do. Yes.
Yeah. Wasn't that crazy? All in a straight line, right? And listening to the sheriff and the ranchers out there going, see strange stuff all the time. This is crazy town. Yeah. And when I want to ask you about this because you spent so much time in Colorado and on ranches and stuff. Ranchers, cowboys, it's just, ranchers, ranch hands, they are out there experiencing nature at every level.
Mhm.
All right. So they see stuff all the time. Stuff caught in fences, stuff that has been killed by a predator, whatever it may be, disease, right?
Mhm.
They see everything so when they come back with, yeah, this is pretty weird. Well, right?
Right.
We need to stop and listen to what they have to say, like the ranchers and the police and the law enforcement with Texas a few years ago. That was a real head scratcher for me because they didn't understand it. Well, that's what was going on, not only with Snippy, but the cattle mutilations that were happening in the area, right?
And what's fascinating to me about Snippy, this was before all, now you talk to Linda, Chuck Zukowski's done a lot of work, Christopher O'Brien, who we just recently lost, unfortunately. We were going to work with Chris on the Snippy case, and he passed away the week before we were going to kind of hit this hard. So that was a really unfortunate loss to the community. Linda has been very gracious in this new information coming forward. We do not know why Burl in the late 80s with Linda and Chris changed the story. There's a lot of theories on maybe possibly why, but the name and sex confusion kind of started really early on. In some of the documents, we learned that Snippy was actually a birthday gift for Nellie, and he was actually born in Estes Park, Colorado, where the Stanley Hotel is, and then was boarded in Denver for a couple years before he made it to the Valley. But Agnes King, her mother that you saw the photograph of there, she would refer to, you got to remember the year 1967. So Jackie Kennedy was all the rage, right? Everybody loved Jackie and the Kennedys, and she would compare Snippy being a proud little colt and would compare him to Jackie Kennedy. And so even early articles would confuse the sex. Very early on, it was.
And why is this important?
Well, I think it's just, you can imagine my excitement when I got to see these first photographs. These are the only known pictures of Snippy alive. And this is Snippy as a colt with Mother Lady. I think it's important because of the name confusion and we spent over 6 months. Tony Angiola wrote the book, and I, right there alongside him. And it was just, our living room was a pile of books and magazines and easels full of documents and recordings. And we're just trying to look at all the evidence we can. And we just wanted to get it right for the King family. And that's why the book is titled A King Family Legacy. So if nothing else, I think it was important to get it right for the King family. We also got a call from a woman, Ernest Wellington's daughter, Leona. She lives in Australia now, and she wrote a review on Amazon and everything. She's like, you guys got it right. I was there. And what's really sad about that, Ernest Wellington, along with Nellie, and we'll get into more of the evidence, but there were, crushed Chico brushes around Snippy's carcass. And in one of these, Nellie finds a strange, what she called a tool. And Ernest was with her when she found this tool, and she pokes it with a stick and some green ooze comes out of it, and her hands burned for an hour until she washed them and everything. And Condon Committee took some of that and tested that tool, which we have the results from that. And it was some sort of strange seaweed. But anyway, Ernest Wellington died a week later, and he was only 52. So we asked his daughter, do you think Ernest Wellington's death had anything to do with him finding this green tool or this green ooze and tool next to Snippy's? And she thought yes, it perhaps had something to do with his death, because he was not ill otherwise. Now, why Nellie continued on and it just affected Ernest, I do not know, but it's super sad that he passes away a week after finding that tool.
So with Snippy, now Snippy, male or female?
Snippy is a male, and we did have, so his bones, if anybody's interested in seeing Snippy's bones, are at the UFO Watchtower. Judy Messelin has them, but here we had the bones analyzed. And as you can see, for female horses, they have a wider birth canal for the colts or the mares to come out, and Snippy is narrow. So there's Snippy's right there. So even his bones show that, yes, he is indeed a 3-year-old colt, but all over the place, all the auto recordings, all the maps, all the documents, all the photographs. And the most important photograph is a photograph of Sheba and Lady right after Snippy's death. So in the documents and in the recordings, they talked about how Sheba and Lady and Snippy were all very friendly horses. You would come up and they'd take sugar cubes out of your hand. Well, after Snippy's mutilation, Lady and Sheba, which we have photographs of after Snippy's mutilation, became very skittish, especially, you know, those old box cameras. They try to take pictures and they'd hear the click of the camera and just freak out. So their temperaments changed after that mutilation. And one of the cool things, there was a map of the ground. It had rained like 3 days before, you know, light rain. So you could see tracks around Snippy. You can even see bird tracks because the ground was so moist. And so they could see the 3 sets of horse prints. Remember, Smokey died the week before. So you have Lady, Sheba, and Snippy. And you could see their tracks running in a zigzag pattern as if something was corralling them or spooking them. Then you see Lady and Sheba's track run back to the King Ranch house. You see Snippy's hoof prints milling in a circle. And then this is discrepancy. Some reports say 250 feet away. Some say 25 to 35 feet away. Snippy is no tracks whatsoever. He's lifted and dropped, and you can see that broken back right leg, and he's dropped there. So it's, you know, very unusual, and there's way more evidence around this case than I ever knew. And
now, as you looked into it, comparing everything today in the notes for today in the research versus the original press releases and comments about Snippy in 1967, what were the injuries to Snippy?
Right. I mean, there was so much more I didn't know, like that back left leg that was also bare and void of flesh, and that's not recognized. And the broken leg, the spinal fluid, Dr. Altschuler, which Linda, you know, really has a lot to say about what Dr. Altschuler found, but, you know, no blood. And in fact, that in some of the photos, you could see like a black tar substance. It was not blood. It was a black tar. And in the audio recordings, they actually say, you know, no animals would approach us. They could see coyote droppings around Snippy. Eventually, they finally approached Snippy and started, you know, but the coyotes died of dysentery. So they found dead coyotes after they ate on Snippy. Radiation readings were high around Snippy's carcass, but when you got close to Snippy, they dropped. They became normal, where that should be opposite. Another strange thing was when they first saw Snippy, his skull was bright white, like it had been laying in the sun for years. A week later, the skull turns pink, and then a week after that, it turns black. The brain was completely gone. They found a white powder in the stomach. Strange holes in the ground, which actually they worked with the Lonnie Zamora case and took castings of these indentations in the ground. So they weren't similar to the Socorro case, but I think it's kind of cool that they, you know, compared notes.
Yeah. It's also not that far away either.
Yeah.
What about the mouth and the teeth?
Right. I mean, it does show. And so Dave, gosh, it was maybe 3 months ago. He's like, oh, I found some more audio recordings. Because if you go to the archives, and I recommend if anybody has time and they're out in the Albuquerque area, to go to Dave's website, make an appointment to visit the archives. You could spend years in there actually, but he had come across some more audio recordings because some of these aren't marked properly, right? So he's going through and digitizing everything, and he came across some new audio recordings, and these happened to be a couple of APRO investigators, Herb Roth, and I believe it was Don Richmond. And so what was cool is on the audio recordings, as they're recording the audio bit, walking around the carcass while it's laying there, they're taking pictures. So they would say on the audio, this is picture 1, and they describe it with the audio. This is picture 2, and they describe it. And there's like 26 of these slides that have the audio that go with it. And it's just, Dave was like, I can't believe this. So, back in the day, they would make slideshows, and that's what these were intended to show. So they were very transparent with all that. So in one of those slides, they talk about the 3-year-old teeth, and over again, it's a he, male gelding, colt, Snippy. So yeah.
And one last thing, not to, stay on the morose side of this case, but it is, it makes your skin crawl, when you look at all of this, but it has to be talked about because these are the facts of the case. When we look at, as humans, what we understand about anatomy today and biology, one of the first things that catches your attention with this case is the lack of blood. And so you start there, and then the other part is animals in the wild, as far as I know, I could be wrong, Katie. I could don't have scalpels.
Right. And that's Dr.
I could be wrong.
Yeah. Dr. Altschuler, he had patents on, like, I always say this word wrong, but it's like blood coagulation or he wasn't collaborating.
No, anyway, I can't say it.
I can't say it. Anyway, but he had patents. I mean, he was a medical doctor, and so he knows about these things. And even years later, in the late 80s, 90s, he was still baffled by the cauterization on Snippy's neck. I mean, there were no cut marks into the bone because it went down. I mean, it was, and even the vertebrae where you think there'd be like, whatever did this to Snippy, you'd think, I mean, I hate to be gross here, but there'd be like chunks of meat or something left. It was clean. And the laser incision, it was like a hard leather. It wasn't malleable. And he's like, I couldn't replicate that now. So it really baffled him. And he's interesting. He took his wife and 3 kids up there during the time in 1967, right after this happened. He was reading the papers and got curious, and, hey, wife and kids, we're going to go to the San Luis Valley for a little family vacation. He goes to the Great Sand Dunes actually and camps out and gets a little bit of trouble. That's how he comes, the police approach him. You're not supposed to be here, sir. And he's like, well, I'm a doctor. And they're like, what kind? He goes, well, blood. And they're like, hey, we have this horse we want you to look at, right? But he didn't want his name out in the public for a long time. It didn't come out till years later with Linda Howe. But it's interesting because while he was scouting out at the San Luis Valley, he saw UAPs in the sky. So he saw unusual things himself, as did so many other people. And we can get into that because there was even a box sighting, an unusual box, and orbs. And of course, Mount Blanca, which is a sacred mountain, it's over 14,000 feet, and it's a beautiful mountain. So the Ute tribes were there, the Cheyenne, Comanche, Pawnee, a lot of different tribes. And this Mount Blanca is so sacred, they would not war there. And Snippy was found, at the base of Mount Blanca. And for years, they saw ships a lot like Mount Shasta flying in and out of Blanca. And I often wondered, could Mount Blanca hold secrets like Dulce Base and some of these other mysterious, like Mount Shasta, there in that area?
Yeah. And not only was Snippy, but other cattle mutilations, when Linda and other researchers showed up on the scene, started interviewing the ranchers and also law enforcement, there was one thing that was consistent with all of this. On the days preceding the event, there was a consistent train of UFO reports and lights in the skies. And the government and others would step in and say, helicopters. Well, then, okay, so what were helicopters doing there? Well, okay, but they're misidentified. Well, you're not getting the point. We have mutilated cattle and stuff in the sky, and those helicopters were probably government. And so what were they doing there? Were they there because of the UFOs, or were they involved with the mutilations themselves? And one last thing, these are points that I'm making. I would love for you to comment on all of them. When, like with Snippy, many of these very large animals appeared to have been dropped into their location, with no footsteps or anything else around, and predators' footsteps too as well. I mean, like there was nothing out there, but they were apparently dropped. Now, were they dropped by UFOs or were they dropped by helicopters? Both are intriguing. You know what, Katie? I'd rather have it be aliens.
Yeah,
Because
I mean,
if it's government helicopters dropping cattle like that, somebody's got some serious splaining to do. ET, well, they're just doing stuff, right? I can, you know what I mean? I can deal with that. But the government, black helicopters mutilating cattle for whatever reason and horses and dropping them off in ranchers' property. No, that's a really, really big deal, isn't it?
yeah, I mean, here we are, what, 57, 58 years later. Here's a great, if you go to my website and you reach out to me at katiepaige.net or RockyMountainRanchResearch.org, I will send you a PDF of this, but it's called The Choppers and the Choppers. And it's a great little short read document that they did a study all across the Midwest on, these strange blacked out helicopters. And there were even newspaper articles that I uncovered from Rocky Mountain Ranch that they were these choppers were menacing kids on ranches. And I asked Richard Doty the same time I cornered him, asking him if he knew of the ranch. I'm like, why would these helicopter pilots be messing with kids on ranches? And he said, a diversion. A diversion from what? What are they doing out there? What kind of project? So I do believe that a percentage of some of these could have been our military, but the vast majority are not, because here we are, almost 6 decades later with no answers, and I know there's a lot of theories running around as to why are they draining the blood? Why are they taking the soft tissue of the eye, the ear, the tongue, the rectum usually? What is it about that? And I talked to a gentleman years ago who claimed to have spent time at S4, and he talked about the extraterrestrials maybe absorbing nutrients through the skin, and that some of these animals, cows in particular, and elk even, have high copper levels in their blood. So are they using these soft tissue organs for nutrient? I don't know. It's a theory. But through all these decades, we don't have a lot of evidence saying, there's not a lot of footprints. One of my most important interviews I did with a witness out in Rama, Colorado. This was in the late 70s. Her husband, they were miles off the county road. Her husband was checking the cows for calves on horseback, comes across a dead calf on the ground. It had 4 incisions in a perfect square cut with the top of the fur removed. He gets on his horse, goes back and gets my witness, Sheila. It took him 20 minutes to get back. And in that time, that calf had been cauterized, organs removed, blood drained, no tracks around except for what was left with the horse. They felt like they were watched. And what was cool, she had the photograph, and she had a photograph of what it looks like when a coyote jumps up on a calf and kills a calf. Vastly different.
Completely different.
It's like they interrupted it. Yeah.
Yeah. When somebody goes, ants do that. And no, they don't. What ants are you? What do you mean? And we've all seen stuff go down in nature. All right. Nature's got a way of getting stuff done. They do, but it's not surgical precision stuff. And that's it. So don't tell me that ants are just marching along in a line and doing a laser cut along an animal's face and then going in and, extracting teeth. Yeah. And whatever else is going on. I did want to make this quick comment. Now it just got away from me. It just got away from me, and it was good too. Katie, it was solid. It was solid. My Uncle Bill. My Uncle Bill. That's what it was.
I have an Uncle Bill.
We all do.
We all have Uncle Bill.
Yeah, mine's pretty crazy. Anyway, my Uncle Bill, straight up legit, he's been on Fade to Black, by the way. His entire career was a military helicopter pilot for the Army. And going all the way back to the 60s in Vietnam. He's still alive. I still talk to him a lot. He's a great dude. Anyway, the last 20, 30 years of his life, up until just recently, he's just recently retired at like the age of 70, was a trainer, right? Okay, that's it. He taught piloting for the Army down in Alabama at a base down there. That being said, I asked him on Fade to Black, I go, so what's up with the black helicopters? He goes, what about them? Are they real? He goes, of course. I go, really? Are they flying right now in the United States? He's like, yeah, of course. I go, he goes, but they're not black. I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, they're black, but they have tail numbers, but the tail numbers are in black. They have to be identified. So all the markings on it, whatever branch of the military, that's painted there, but it's painted in black on the black. And if you see a black helicopter, you walk up to it, you can see the tail number, you can see all the identification stuff. But when it's up flying, they don't want you to know what it is. And that's why all the identification numbers are in black. I said, so they're real. He goes, I just told you they were real. And it was just so funny how he was like, why are you asking me such a dumbass question? It was like that. Yeah.
And some of these choppers back in the day, though, they're the bell choppers. They're not necessarily military. And then, some of them are reported as being silent. And so that's something I was like really curious about. Do we have silent helicopters? We have quiet helicopters that can be a little bit less loud, but you're still going to hear the rotation of the rotors. Sure. I mean, you don't have an absolute silent helicopter.
No, Katie, you're very smart. It's a very important point. Yeah, we can silence them somewhat, bring down the volume, the dB of the chopper rotations, right? The blades, but they're not going to be silent,
right?
And that's it. So that's where the ET component comes in pretty solid here.
Yeah.
I honestly, it's an enigma. It is still a totally unsolved case. And like we brought up earlier, just when you thought all of this stuff had gone away, it just pops back up in Texas 3 years ago. And it was like 5 different cases in a few days.
Right. And then I don't know if you heard, Jimmy, but this year in southern Colorado, in between Trinidad, of course, the Miller Ranch, Sally and Tom Miller, that have been featured on Beyond Skinwalker as well, with their 16 mutilated cattle throughout the years. But in that area there, we had 180 missing heads of calves just vanish. It's still unsolved. 180. Gone. And what shocked me about this, so I started going, what the heck, and I started researching on the internet. I didn't know cattle wrestling, or that people still steal a lot of cattle, but 180, that's a lot. How do you get away with that? Yeah, heads of mostly calves, just gone, vanished.
So the body's there, headless.
No, they're gone. No body.
Oh, the whole cat. Oh, I thought you said headless calves.
So I don't know if they were stolen or.
Oh, I got you. Well, you know what we did have here is, man, I was just really freaking out for a second. But you know what we had a rash of, and you can look it up. I've done shows. Did a show with Linda on this maybe 10, 12 years ago. In Santa Ana, other cities too as well, but here in Southern California in Santa Ana, we had a rash of cat mutilations.
I've heard of this.
Oh, it was nuts. Yeah. Yeah. And the newspaper reports and the media reports and the location, it was out of control in the 80s. Yeah. This is in the 80s.
And I know in the 70s, they talked about like satanic cults and things like that. I think we can say, and I flew to Florida early on, way back, and interviewed Bill Waugh. He was one of the undersheriffs there in Elbert County, along with George Yarnell. They're both featured in Linda Howe's movie, A Strange Harvest. So I went out and interviewed his son and his widow, because he had passed away, about, the box and the mutilations. And so in the police station in Elbert County at the time, during all of this, they were they had a map, and they were keeping track through the whole Midwest. So there would be a mutilation like up in Montana, up on Malmstrom, and one in Elbert County almost at the exact same time. And they would pin them in the maps, Texas, Oklahoma, Colorado was hit the hardest, but just a crazy amount. And sometimes they were happening simultaneously at the same time. And you said it, Jimmy, it wasn't just cows, it was horse, sheep. I even found articles of dog. You mentioned
Mhm.
cats. And then talking to Paul Sinclair in the UK, they had a rash of kangaroo mutilations out there.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
Sea creatures. I mean, these are, I wonder about elk and deer and wild animals as well.
Yeah. At what point does the public get alarmed? You would think that the cat mutilations would kick things up. But when you put pins in a map, right, then you start to get the visual. It's stronger than a computer or other things, right? Where you've got this analog tactile thing, and you put it and you tie in the dates. That's when you're able to look back and go, okay, now that's not a coincidence. I'll give you an example. Are you ready? I'm gonna tell you something right now you didn't know. All right.
I'm ready.
Rendlesham, 1980, right?
Right.
28th, 29th.
There was a mutilation.
Wait. Oh, I'm gonna even mess you up further than that. Okay, so we know the dates of Rendlesham. All right. On the exact same date, one of the most famous cases in the United States also happened with the same type of craft. What case was that? Same date, 1980. Don't Google it. I will jump through this camera. Do not Google it.
I'm not going to Google it. It can't. Travis Walton was 75, 74 was Carl Higdon. 1980 was that. That was the.
Come on.
I got it.
Blow your mind. I'm going to blow your mind.
Carl, Carl. I can't think of his name right now. The PP word, where they get taken from the boat, and the elephant nose guy. What is that the case? I'm having a moment.
Are you ready? I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you. You ready?
Pascagoula.
Nope. Cash Landrum.
Cash Landrum. That's right. Okay.
On the same date, same day.
That's amazing.
Experimental triangle craft, lands on the road, helicopters involved, the military, the United States Air Force, health injuries, everything else.
Right. Wasn't the Cash Landrum? That was the one on the road.
That was on the road in Texas.
They didn't want to, they thought it was something the government was experimenting with, and they weren't going to say it was a UFO, but if Rendlesham happened on the same date, and it makes you wonder then.
Yeah. What did I just tell you? I'm going to blow your mind.
Right. I had that same thing happen with November 11, 1975. Edmund Fitzgerald goes down. Travis Walton is returned after midnight. 2 interceptors are scrambled over Elbert County in pursuit of a UFO, and 2 F-106 Delta Darts are scrambled out of Selfridge, Michigan, after they're seeing many UAPs on radar over Falcon Bridge, Ontario, Canada, all on the same day, all 4 events.
Yeah.
So these things.
I love it. Yeah. So back to my point, right?
Right.
I love it when these things happen like that, and you're able to tie these things in to push it beyond coincidence. And it's the same thing with the cattle and animal mutilations. It's fascinating with me. So let's take our break right here. Our guest tonight, the one and only Katie Paige, is with us. I am your host, Jimmy Church. We're talking about Snippy and other stuff. We're going to do UFOs all night with Katie Paige. Katie, you stay right there. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get your alerts and access to over 2,000 videos. Click that subscribe button right now. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and get the Fade to Black official podcast. 2,000 episodes, all of them commercial free for just $2 a month. Watch Into the Vortex on Gaia TV. It's Fade to Black for the screen. Simple to do. Go to Gaia.com, search Jimmy Church, or click on the link below. Follow Fade to Black on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Get all of the show updates every single day. It's now called X, but who cares? How you doing? Jimmy Church here. Special announcement. Get your Fade to Black t-shirts. That's right. Help support the show. Help support everything that we do over here. We've got 2 t-shirts. We've got 2 ways to get them. Get your Fade to Black t-shirt today. Go Beckley Teppy. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and become a Fadernaut. Get a membership. That's right. Everything is commercial free. You have access to downloads, and you get to call yourself a Fadernaut. Jimmy Church Guy TV, Fade to Black, here at Machu Picchu with Brian Forster and Hidden Inca Tours. Amazing tour so far, Brian, but we're here to announce what we're going to do next year in 2026. What's going on?
Okay, November 2026, we're going to have our major tour of Peru and Bolivia, either a pre or post tour of Paracas and Nazca on the coast. And then after that, 6 days in Easter Island.
Bucket list, Easter Island. Come join Brian and I and his amazing team here at Hidden Inca Tours for Peru, Bolivia, and Easter Island. Signing out. Say goodbye, Brian.
Bye, gang.
River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Truly the best coffee on planet Earth. Just visit rivermoonwellness.com or their Amazon store. It's all simple to do. You can check out the Fade to Black blend, the Game Changer blend, or any of their Black Moon Wellness products. It's the only coffee I drink. It is the best, and it's Doc. Again, rivermoonwellness.com. All right. Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Katie Paige is with us from the great state of Colorado. I just got back from Colorado this weekend. I love Colorado. Everything about Colorado is amazing to me. I want to mention a couple of things at the top of the show. We mentioned that Katie lost her original YouTube channel. So we've got the links up for her new YouTube channel. And Bill, John, Jessica, put up the new links again in the chat for me for Katie. I want everybody, all of you Fadernauts and everybody that is listening, to go and follow, like, and subscribe to Katie's new YouTube channel. She's got to start from ground zero, and that sucks when that happens. So let's keep this. Before we get back, I want to bring out a few things about Snippy, but I've got you here. On Monday, a week ago today, we had another UFO hearing with Congress. I know that you've watched it. I know that you've got your comments. Overall, pretty amazing. I think it may have been the best hearing so far for a lot of different reasons. And of course, a pretty amazing video accompanied all of the testimony. What's your takeaway of this last hearing?
I liked it. I thought it was excellent. I thought it was interesting, though, the kind of the double standard I heard. And I don't know if this is a common thing between the Navy and the Air Force, but like, was it Chief Wiggins from the Navy? He didn't seem to be like criticized and harassed as much as like Mr. Borland from the United States Air Force. I thought his testimony was like, it upset me that, you know, he lost his credentials and he was so ridiculed. And I found that both sad and disturbing. And I thought, is there a double standard between more openness in the United States Navy, my grandfather's Navy, my father's Navy? I love the Navy, and thank you all men and women out there for whatever branch for your service to this country. But is that a common thing? And I would love to see that change. And I really felt that was a lot of the undertone and focus was how to protect these people and how to encourage men and women in the military to come forward safely. So I thought that was all very, very good and much needed.
Yeah, Wiggins, just amazing, the things that he had to say. But he's currently in the Navy, right? Yeah. Everybody, yeah. That's a whole nother thing. He's an active service member to get up there and to share this. But you're right. Big difference between the Air Force and the Navy with dealing with this. The Air Force, they don't give a crap about anybody but themselves. They're not going to give up this information. Mm-hmm. They've been used to it. They shut down Blue Book. They've always been in control of the narrative, and that's it. And they're not going to, they just don't think that they can be told what to do when it comes to this. And a good case in point for that, back in 2018, it was revealed that the Pentagon had a secure, key word there, right? A secure Pentagon chat room for whistleblowers to go and branch members and also agency members to talk about UAPs, right? And so they were, and this was their safe space to go and do that and to share information. You know who shut that down? The Air Force.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, the Air Force comes in, they send out a memo. If you are caught, right, and don't do it. And that's the Air Force, right. You're right about that.
And the red square, that red square case was incredible to hear about. The testimony of the white light turning into that large triangle, and then to have that, I think he described it as a gold liquid kind of cloak or covering that just blew my mind. I found that fascinating, but it's so funny. I live behind Pikes Peak now, so I'm close to NORAD and, military central right here, especially the United States Air Force Academy. And back in the day, they owned a lot of the property, kind of almost butting up to the old Rocky Mountain Ranch. They owned some of the property out there. Hence, maybe some of these black access projects going on out there. But what's fascinating and talking to some, cadets and stuff, they're still to this day, if you have to go through the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, they still see cryptids that alongside, the Air Force Academy there. It's kind of like a known thing still in the academy that you might see a Sasquatch creature glaring down at you from the academy.
That's just fascinating to me. You're right, though. The difference between the different attitudes within the branches, mm-hmm. and how we're dealing with it. But who we haven't heard from? There is another branch of the military that nobody knows about. It's top secret. It's called the Coast Guard.
Oh, yeah. That's where they're coming from.
Right. And nobody, it's so weird how... I wonder what it's like. You know what? All right, I'm going to be a dick for a second. So you get all the branches together, right? They're all sitting around a round table, right? The Marines, the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, Space Force, right? Is the Coast Guard allowed to sit at the table? Do they have a little kiddie table off in the background where the Coast Guard has to sit? Or does the Coast Guard sit at the table with the big boys? And I'm not talking bad about anything. What I am saying, or the Coast Guard specifically, I always thought the Coast Guard was one of the coolest branches.
I was going to say that the kiddie table is a fun table.
I've always felt that way. I've got a lot of friends that were in the Coast Guard, but we don't hear from the Coast Guard.
It's true.
And you would think that with the position that they're in, their ships are covered with sensors, right? They're monitoring our borders and defending this country. and they're looking in all directions all the time. Where's the Coast Guard in all of this? Strangely silent, I would add.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a great point. Yeah. I mean, when the Navy talks about things they're seeing near their subs and everything, the fast movers underwater, and I believe that they're here already. They're terrestrial. They're coming in and out of our waters. That footage was mind-blowing, really. And I just, with so much out there, and I know it's hard we see so much now on the internet. We don't know what's true, what's not true, what's CGI and all that. But still, everything that's coming out, all this footage, people have just got to be really curious as to what the heck's going on. And at the very least, have more questions. And that's the important thing with like Snippy and these historical cases. And I'm happy they at least touched on it a little bit during the hearing. But now that we're all able to talk and the way we communicate, that's my big point with this. People need to learn the history of ufology, and we can make new connections, like with the Snippy case. I know it's an old case, and people are like, why are you looking at this for over 50 some years later? Because my mind's been blown at how many similarities and connections to the Rocky Mountain Ranch, to Skinwalker Ranch, to Marley Woods, to Ohiopyle, Pennsylvania, to, Bradshaw and Sedona, all, and even, over in the UK, they're seeing boxes, they're having similar things happen, and now we can communicate about it. So it's not too late to go check out these historical cases. And that's what I'm passionate about.
Yeah, for sure. And here's another crazy thing. Rendlesham is about to be 50 years old.
I know.
And I've over the years, I've always referenced Rendlesham and Travis Walton and these other as modern cases. Mm-hmm. Because when we look at Roswell or 1952, Washington, D.C., and even Lonnie Zamora, all the witnesses, everybody's gone. Yeah, right. The original researchers or anybody that was involved with it, the law enforcement, everybody's gone. Rendlesham was always a case where everybody's still here, but we're pushing 50 years on this case now. 50 years. I know. And if you were 20 years old, if you were a kid involved with that case, you're going to be 70. If you were 25, if you were 30, you're going to be 80, 85 years old. With Rendlesham, which is, it seems like it was yesterday. I graduated high school in 1981, right? So this is a modern case to me. Right. I don't want it to go away. There's just too much here for us. Yeah, just way too much here. Right. I'm wondering if we do, because here's the thing. Wiggins was amazing on one point for me. It was his delivery, his matter of fact, in command discussion of what he saw, not only with his eyes, but with the sensor data that he had. He was a radar operator, and the communication that was going on in that room at that time. And the way that he just let it come out like that, it was so compelling for me. We could do the same thing with Rendlesham. Right. Why not in the next hearing, let's bring the Rendlesham guys up. Bring them all up.
Bring them all up there. Yeah, line them up. I'm for all that. You want to hear something cool that happened. So just this last Saturday, while you were visiting beautiful Boulder, Colorado, it's gorgeous. I agree. Boulder's beautiful. Tony Angiola and I spoke at Colorado MUFON about the Snippy case. We presented on Snippy, and in the audience was this cowboy, black cowboy hat, cowboy boots, rancher. Had a calling to come to Colorado. He was from Oklahoma, but for the first time, he's 72 years old. His name's Kendall. I won't say his last name because I'm not sure if he wants me to put his last name out there. But Kendall comes to the meeting. He, for some reason, synchronicity or what, he decides to look up Colorado MUFON. We were talking about this case. And when he was 14 years old, his uncle was growing barley in the San Luis Valley for Coors brewery company, the beer company Coors. And he went out there for 2 weeks and he said, "Did you see the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind? That's what I experienced." He believes he has a square implant in his ankle. He even the King Ranch at the time, they didn't have running water, they didn't have electricity out there. It's a rough life out there. Agnes King had 12 children and lost 6 of them. And it was a hard life, still is a hard life out there in the valley. And he experienced what he said that, in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, that bright light and the little boy and all those electronic toys going off. He said he lived that and had missing time, a very scary event happened to him in 1967, right around the time of Snippy, just actually the end of August, because he knew school, when school was coming back in at 14 years old. And he shared that for the first time ever in his life this last Saturday. So to your point, yes, some of these folks are getting up there in age, but even, in Elbert County, I was able to interview Carl, who was a rancher. He's in his 90s and still has a lot to say about what was going on. So that's why it's more important than ever to grab these witnesses while we can, and get it documented.
How's Tony?
He's good. busy.
I've known Tony for a long time, and one of the things that I will say about Tony is he is adamant about the truth.
No, you could say that again.
If it's going to offend people, or he doesn't care. And he is into the subject, fully into the subject, but man, he just, I just wouldn't want to piss him off.
No,
if he'd be the wrong, you wouldn't want him investigating you.
That's true. Yeah, he's been involved in this subject longer than I have. And, he did a lot of work on the Socorro case. And we just lost Ray Stanford, and has just an incredible amount of things that he wants to bring forward, him along with Ben Moss. But with the Snippy case, that's why I said, it was like a crime scene investigation for almost 7 months, 7 days a week, every waking hour until 1, 2 in the morning sometimes. And it was just like, wanted to get to the truth, like I've never seen anybody want to figure that out so much. So you're absolutely right about that. I was just like blown away. Very much a truth seeker in that. And this is a hard subject to get to the truth, especially when we're doing a deep dive on this,
and Ben Moss is the same way.
Yeah.
Ben, and those two, that, they've been working together forever, and I just love them to death. But that is all, always been their focus. Just take it where the facts, are out in front of you, and let's go there. They've done some of the best research. Their stuff with Ray. Oh man, so, and you're right about that. I just wanted to ask about Tony, and Tony and Ben are just absolutely incredible. What is it about Snippy that there's a lot of firsts there, but also has remained so important? What is it about Snippy?
Well, for me personally, I don't know. Yeah, there's the cover of the book, Snippy the Horse. Like we talked about earlier, it was such an honor to kind of do all this research, Tony and I, for the King family, to bring forward all the new evidence. It's not new. I mean, the lost evidence, I should correct myself, the lost evidence that was gone through the APRO for all those years, and to bring that forward was such an honor to do. But for me, it was the amount of evidence and all the things I didn't know that really connects to Elbert County, to Trinidad, to all these high-strangeness locations, the outlier stories, missing time stories. There was even an encounter, a box encounter that was very, very unusual. Health effects, people going blind, Coley King, animals going blind. There was so much more to this case. And for me, that was what was so surprising, because when we first opened this up, I was like, oh, it's just, not that I'm not dismissing that the first recognized animal mutilation isn't important. It very much is. But I had no idea the circles on the ground. For example, if you watch Beyond Skinwalker and Rocky Mountain Ranch, you know, my sister and I, the whole story of the landing site there where the dirt was dry, nothing grew, and there was heavy snow on the outside, and it was recorded in the APRO case from the Rocky Mountain Ranch that circle was 75 feet in diameter. Now, to come to find out, there was a 75-foot diameter circle around Snippy, along with 5 15-feet circles also. I'm like, 75-foot diameter circle, that matches. And even more, if you've watched George Knapp, his new movie, or his new, I think it was on Netflix series, Investigation Alien. And I think that first episode they're in Oregon with the new mutilations happening in Oregon. And they're talking to a 5-time rancher who actually sees a craft come over and he shoots at it. I mean, this is a stand-up like guy, and he had a 75-foot diameter circle on the ground as well. And then on UAP Studies podcast with Jason Gilmet, I'm a co-host on that show, and we had Dr. Joshua Pearson, PhD. He did his dissertation on UAPs, and he was presenting his findings. And on the disc-shaped craft, one of his findings, and these are from cases all around the world, is a 75-foot diameter circle. And you should have seen my face. I was like,
well, what does that mean? That the craft was 75 feet, or there is some type of propulsion system that is radiating the ground at 75 feet? Is there something else that is causing this consistent 75 foot dead zone?
Yeah, I don't know if it's landing in at 75 feet or, like you said, if it's emanating. I mean, because you hear sometimes, like, you know, you have a beam of light that's coming down, but it's not your typical light where it disperses. It almost feels so like cut off. Now, is that just 75 feet in diameter? I'm not sure. Some of them are landed cases. Some of them might not be. It's really interesting. I mean, that's something that fascinated me when I did the 3.5-year Love and Light book I did on Dr. Leo Sprinkle's research. I spent, 3 years going through 40 years of his documents from around the world, reading people's letters and stuff that culminated in that Letters of Love and Light book. But something I found interesting was how the phenomena kind of changed through the decades. The 70s, I love the 70s for obvious reasons, because of the ranch and my childhood and stuff. But it seems like there were more landings then, more entity sightings then. And it seems like things have kind of shifted. It's not that we don't hear about it now, but it just seemed a little different in the 70s than what it is today.
Yeah, you bring up Leo, and for those that are maybe, well, you watch Fade to Black enough, you've heard the names, but Leonard Stringfield, Leo Sprinkle, those two cats, and others too as well, but when you go and jump into UFO history, and Katie just mentioned this, learning, UFO 101 and jump back into those two guys. Go and read their stuff. Go and follow their history. Jump back, and you'll see that with the both of them, it goes back to the origins of everything, and a life of absolutely trying to get to the bottom of this and dealing with Washington at the same time. We think that now it's all new, that this is all happening no, man, no. No. This has been going on for a while. This cat and mouse game with the Pentagon and the Air Force and the White House and agencies and everything. This has been done over and over again. And those are two guys that have been in the middle of it since the beginning. So yeah, their work is just so good, and go and check it out. But you mentioned locations, and I think that that's important. But when we really look at this, it's too easy to focus on the hotspots. It's too easy to focus on Crestone. It's too easy to focus, you know what I mean, to go to these places around New Mexico and Arizona, when you have places like Joshua Tree, California, and Landers, California, and other spots around Texas, for instance, where a lot of things are happening all of the time. Now, when I ask you this, is it a geography thing? Is it a component of what the earth is made of? Is it granite? Is it aquifers under the ground? Is it the cattle specifically? Or is there something else going on? Ley lines? I don't know. But we seem to have these hot spots. And
Mhm.
I can't figure out why. What do you think is going on?
Yeah, that was one of my first things I looked at, actually. If you go to the United States electromagnetic maps, and I looked at all these hotspots, 90% of them, there's a few outliers. Trey Hudson down south is one of the outliers, but the vast majority, 90% plus, ping the charts of being highly magnetic. So you have this very light color pink being highly magnetic. So Skinwalker Ranch, Rocky Mountain Ranch, Marley Woods, Sedona for sure. They're all highly magnetic areas, certain geological aspects. San Luis Valley, I mean, the great sand dunes, it's crystals, right? So you have the crystals, you have limestone and all these great things, and granite. These big mountains, obviously. Mount Shasta has very unique features there geologically. And then aquifers. I know David Pilates talks about aquifers, under the Carl Higdon case, and one of the biggest ones fall right down the Midwest there. And actually at Rocky Mountain Ranch, we have two aquifers, the Dawson and the Denver, and they come together right there at the ranch. One has a higher water table than the other. Is there caverns or caves that run under the ground? I don't know. Are cryptids coming in and out of this? I don't know. But again, what I found interesting in interviewing Tom and Sally Miller from Trinidad, I was asking them, like, why do some ranchers seem to get hit with mutilations and others do not?
Right.
What is that about? And they felt that the people are just as important too. So you talk about high magnetism, water, the geology, but then the people too. Are we part of the equation with what we manifest or what we believe and what we expect to see? I think we can't rule that out too. I've seen that time and time again, that the people make a difference. And especially when you have certain people that get hit with the hitchhiker phenomenon and others don't. What is that about? Are we wired differently to interact with it? I'm not sure, but I think it's all important.
What if we replace the cattle mutilations with human mutilations? Now that would catch some attention, wouldn't it? Or would it? I've thought about this a lot. Or would that be ultra squashed?
It's ultra squashed. It's happened. I've seen some pretty horrific photographs that have been brought to my attention. So yes, it's happened. I wish I could unsee some of the images I have seen. But yeah, I think it's squashed more. I mean, it's terrifying.
The idea, and this is, man, I have a dark mind. I just do. I do. But when we really look at this and we start to break it down and analyze, what is actually going on? Is it something that matters? And I say maybe not. Now, Jimmy, why would you say this? Well, what do humans do? You know what we do? We send out universities, the Smithsonian. We do going into the jungles of Africa and South America, looking for what? New species, something new, something to learn. And what do we do when we find something? We grab it, we bag it, we tag it, and we take it back to a laboratory in the United States for study. And what do we do when we do something like that? We've just broken up a family. Maybe we took the mom of something and bagged and tagged it. Now, mom doesn't go home to her family that night, or the kids or whatever. And then we bring it back and we do some kind of biological thing and open it up. And what is different from that than ET showing up and grabbing animals here? and dissecting. What's
Yeah.
the difference?
There isn't.
Why are we freaking out on that? There's nothing to freak out there. It's that ET may be doing this, and it's confirmation of contact. That's the important point. I'm not shocked that ET would be doing this. I'm a little more freaked out if they take one of us and dissect us. That would be a bad day. But why would we freak out on that if ET doesn't look at us as being anything special? Like when we go to the jungle and grab whatever we feel like capturing and taking back and throwing in a lab.
Yeah.
What's the difference? I don't see it. I don't see the difference.
Have you seen that meteorite that strange thing is growing out of? I don't know if it's real or legit or not, but it's growing and moving, and it looks kind of like a scary sci-fi movie. And I'm like, holy moly, we better nip that in the bud, because I don't know, that's pretty creepy. Now, again, I don't know if it's real. I've just seen it on the internet. I was like, yikes.
That's probably real. It's probably real. Yeah, we're going to find out soon enough what's going on with that. But so back to this, like Rocky Mountain or any other area that we're talking about here, these are also remote areas. Skinwalker's remote. Okay. These areas are remote areas. We're not seeing this type of activity over, not necessarily, but not over Los Angeles or New York or Chicago. Why? Well, you would want to do just that. You would want to do any of this kind of research if it is ET or even the government for that matter, but away from witnesses. That makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it certainly does. And I mean, part of my research has really uncovered that there was black access projects going on as well. I mean, some of the documents from Rocky Mountain Ranch, the one gentleman who was the third partner in purchasing this property was from Air Defense Command out of San Francisco. He was part of that in the late 60s, comes out here in the 70s and buys this property. There was a gentleman by the name of Warren. His last name was redacted out. He said he visits the ranch. First question is, why is he even there in the first place from Fort Carson? And he said he felt something wrong. Something took over his mind, made him walk towards the woods, would release him. And this did this to him 5 times. These strange, unusual boxes, that disembodied electrical voice. And I'm not saying it's extraterrestrial in nature. It could have been us. I learned about something called plasma ball technology, where they're using lasers to pipe out, and I listened to it on the internet. If you just research plasma ball technology and lasers, it sounds very electronic, like what I heard when I was a child, that kind of, your friends will be instructed to remain silent concerning us. Was that the government? And also in the APRO report, this particular person that's supposed to be Air Defense Command says that he is using legal LSD. And so after contacting the desert 2 years ago, Tony and I interviewed a CIA widow and daughter. Their family owned a lot of property over the Dulce Base, had a home in Crestone, Colorado, which, by the way, is crawling with feds, Oppenheimer and Tesla, and that's a whole other rabbit hole to go down. But she said that her dad in the CIA, they were experimenting with these drugs called FM, which stands for freaking magic. So we know they were, my half brother was in the state hospital in Pueblo. We know they were doing experiments on people in state hospitals. We know. And so I always wondered, well, were they doing this whole experiment with the town? And just recently, this program I was put in while at the ranch, I still have my tapes right here. It's called the Twilight Learners. And that scary night on the ranch with that disembodied electrical voice, I started getting really bad migraine headaches. This gentleman, Thomas H. Badinsky, started the Biofeedback Institute in the Denver Tech Center in Colorado, which I went to for a year and a half. Come to find out, Thomas H. Badinsky was a navigational engineer at Area 51 on the SR-71 Blackbird. And he worked with the Menninger Foundation, the Monroe Institute, the Stargate program, and the Gateway Project. All of this. And there's an old video online where they're working with a little boy named Kevin, around the same age I was then, 10, 11 years old. And there's a video of him hooked up with the biofeedback like I did. Hey, Kevin, can you make the rocket go? Can you make the rocket land? And things like this. And I'm just like, holy crap. There's so much more going on that people, I mean, just, that's why you got to connect the dots here. What was going on and what were they up to, MK Ultra kind of stuff.
I'm a military brat. And I lived on and went to Department of Defense schools and military. I missed out on all that action. I did.
You weren't pulled out into special.
I wasn't special enough.
Oh.
I was on the special bus, but that's a whole nother story. But no, I was never. I missed it. I totally missed out on all that fun stuff, and I poked around. One of the things that I did always on Army bases and Air Force bases and Navy bases was me and my friends would go and look for secret shit. We'd look for bunkers. Oh, man, we broke into some, and I never got arrested, got hassled, got caught. But when you're military kids, right? Service member, your kids, most of the military police that are busting you or catching you are like 3 years older than you.
Oh.
I know, I'm serious. If I'm 15 and I'm caught in a secret area, I'm getting caught by some kid that's 19, right? In the military police. And it's just like, man, just go, we weren't Russian agents, you know what I mean? No. But I was constantly looking for stuff and found a lot of it. It was a lot of fun, Did
you find, that's something out at Rocky Mountain Ranch too. And I know Christopher O'Brien really looked at that with these cattle mutilations as well, where like, nuclear, fallout or missile silos and things like that. And in the Elbert County area, we have the Titan missile silos that are supposedly inactive or not used anymore. However, if you go and look at these, they keep the grounds pretty nice and the signs look pretty new, and it looks like somebody's keeping an eye on it for some reason. Yeah, I don't know if that's part of the equation as well. So did you ever find anything like that, like any bunkers or underground?
I did. Oh man, are you kidding?
That's crazy.
Tons of them. Our favorite thing to do. All right. I'm just going to say it right now. I don't care what anybody thinks of me. All right. We would break into bunkers and smoke weed.
Uh-oh.
We'd have a cooler. Look, you've got a long hallway, right? And with flashlights, we got a cooler full of beer and stuff. And we're going down a long, door, lock door, open door, go in, office. Yeah. Yeah, man. And we did that constantly. It was so much fun. It was great. We would go and get caught. Okay. So on top of this big hollow hill, it's called Ancon Hill. You can look at it. It's a man-made hill. It's hollow and it's giant. Full on Southcom, Southern Command defense facility. Gnarly. Look it up. ANCON. This is in Panama, in Central America, Ancon Hill. And so we would go and hike up the hill, and I would go past an entrance and look down this lit hallway. This is on the side of a mountain, right? And down at the end of the hallway is security sitting at a desk. And you're looking at the length of this hallway, it's 50 yards, 100 yards into this hill. What door is he sitting outside of at the end of that hallway, right? So anyway, all the way up the hill, the doors and entrances like that. But at the top of the hill, there's a security gate with security in it. But on the other side, we would jump the fence, and there was a radio tower. Go and look it up, Ancon Hill. Go and look at, and the radio tower on the top of Ancon Hill is just giant. But so the security gate was on the other side, and we would sneak in and climb up this radio tower to the top with our coolers, 5 of us, 6 of us. And we would sit up there and drink beer and smoke weed and look at the Panama Canal and everything around us, unobstructed view, until we got caught. And I remember, so we're up there, we're goofing around, playing Black Sabbath too loud or something. And I'm looking, I see the Jeeps pull up. I go, dude, here they come. Right. And they come out and they're showing the flashlights and they come right up to the bottom of the tower. And they're like, okay, come on down. And we did. And they let us go. But yeah, you know, we were always in pursuit of that because your kids, your boys, you're into the military, you're into the secret stuff. This is a Bunker Hill giant. And so, yeah, we wanted to go and check it out. And all of our parents, right? All of our parents, I don't want to say any names, but there were 2 of my friends that were part of this small group. Both of their dads were in military intelligence, like colonels. Yeah.
I think the important part of that whole sounds crazy, but where do those doors go and what's behind them? And
I know.
Always in mountains and hills. It just makes me wonder how many tunnels are running.
You have no idea what is going on underneath your feet. Across the street from my house, I lived on this base called Amador, which was a fake island. Look it up, Fort Amador. And so in front of my house was a giant golf course. All right. And I'm out there with my friends and, you know, during the day, at night, whatever, but this is my front yard. And so I was out there walking on and I hit something with my foot and I backed up. And in the middle of this golf course, it's a vent. It's a tube with this cover on the top. And I could hear something coming from it. And I'm backing up and I'm looking around. I'm like, what does this go to? What is underneath this golf course? Right. And I started to look, and there's a vent over there, 100 yards away. There's another one over here. And then on the side of the golf course was this giant trench that was a 1/4 mile long. And I walked down there, and I looked, and there were these giant concrete entrances with cars, 1 car, 2 car, parked outside of each one. And you go up, and it's a locked metal door. And there's a car parked outside of it underneath a golf course. And it's huge.
That's crazy.
It's hundreds of yards in size.
That makes me think about, wow, that's crazy. Because, I mean, well, but it makes me, one of the very first things reported at Rocky Mountain Ranch were these strange bangs and hums underground. Sometimes the hums would get so loud you couldn't talk over. But I was just watching, I can't remember, a documentary on the San Luis Valley or something just the other day. And they talked about, you know, the Great Sand Dunes. They actually makes a harmonic hum given the right circumstances and winds. And I'm like, could that answer some of the hums that people hear? Is it natural in nature? Because this wind comes over the dunes and it makes this harmonic sound like a hum. And I'm like, I wonder if that's over the Palmer Divide, because a lot like the Archuleta Mesa, of course, we have the Palmer Divide in Elbert County. And I'm wondering if that could create a natural hum, or Taos, New Mexico. So that could answer for some of it. But wow, under golf courses is an excellent place to hide things. But then as you're talking, I'm thinking, well, with the technologies that we have now, I think it would be much harder to hide these underground layers or bases or tunnels, because we could see the heat changes now, you know, through drones and LiDAR and radar and, you know, all these different things. So I would think maybe they'll start being discovered. I don't know.
Okay, so check this out. I just pulled this up off of the net. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Check this out, people. Just check this out. This is nuts. That's Fort Amador. Okay, now my house, and I'll show you. I've never seen this image. I just pulled this up, right? Okay, so anyway, my house was right here.
Oh, wow.
There's the golf course that I'm talking about. Okay. All right. This is all fake. This is all man-made. You can see that, right? Okay. Now, that's the trench I was talking about. And there's the entrances right there.
Wow.
And there's another one right there. See that? You see that?
Yeah. So to my point.
You see that? And so this is in front of my house. And look right here. These are entrances, right? Wow. So actually, this photograph was taken before my house was actually right here. These are the taller apartment buildings. There was three houses here, and mine was in the middle. But so if you zoom in, there's all of it. You can't really see it, but this is where I was walking when I kicked over, the air vents. So, but now when you look at this, there's that trench. That's an entrance right there. That's a friggin' entrance. All of this is fake. That's all an underground. I can't speak for what's over here. This is called the parade ground. My dad's rehearsal place was in here for the Army band. This is all military quarters. The general's house was right here. And
you said this is Air Force or Navy?
Army.
Army. Okay.
This is Army. And but yeah, so there it is. And so that's what I'm talking about. And all of this was hollow. All of this is artificial. And this trench that was right here, my street came down here. And one day I was walking down in this trench, and that's what I go, what is this? What is this? What is this? And there are literally cars inside. So you can't see it, but this is a trench. It's a two-sided trench. You can't see. This other side has got a groove too, and then there's a road that goes down below this. But that's exactly what I'm talking about right there. That's and incredible. I was just blown away by that.
Makes me wonder what's underneath all of that. What's underneath? Is that water all the way around it?
Yeah. So off to the left here, this is the Panama Canal. Okay. This is the Balboa Yacht Club. That's a pier, and this is the Panama Canal. And this is the Pacific Ocean down here. All of this that you're looking at, this whole area, this was created from the dirt and rocks that were dug from the Panama Canal. So they brought everything up and they built this whole artificial Army base, and it's called Fort Amador.
Man, I want to go underneath that water.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you. Look at that.
What is that bunker?
That's a hangar. Yeah. It's a hangar. But yeah. So that's where I lived. I lived right here, and this is the trench. And I can't, like I said, I can't speak for the rest of the base, but all of this is artificial. It is all completely man-made. Yeah. And that's where I lived.
Gosh, and that's one spot around the world. Can you imagine what is hidden? It's just amazing.
Yeah, we went. I will do one more thing. Okay, so I'm going to pull this up here because this is pretty incredible. And I'm going to call this Amador 2. Amador 2. When we talk about artificial bunkers, so this is another at the end of the how do I say this? At the end of the Army base, at the end of Fort Amador is a thing called the Causeway, and the Causeway was again all man-made. And at the end, I'll show it to you here so you can check it out. And this is an underground installation once again. So back here in the background, that's Fort Amador that I just showed you. Okay. All right. There's the golf course right here, and the tide is up, or the tide is down, so you can't see the water back here. But anyway, that's the golf course, and this is where my house was, right? Like right in this area right here. Okay. But now all of this, these are 3 man-made islands. This is man-made. This is the beach that we swam on as a kid, Amador Beach. But this is what I'm going to show you. These 3 artificial islands, 4, are all military installations. So you can see it here, right? And they're all hollow. They're it looks natural, but it's not. It's made from
There's
rocks
a
and
tower
stuff.
right there.
Yeah, it's all hollow, the whole thing. So originally that's what this was. This was all military stuff, came out here and came into these bases. So what we would do as kids, the causeway, we would park here. And then down here, you can't see it from this side, but there's a gate. But you could go down in the low tide like it is here and walk on the sand and walk around the gate. We would go into this island. And there are people on the island, especially on the back half, security people. We saw them come and go all the time. But we were kids. So we weasel our way through, man, and get into these bunkers and go back in there. And it was insane. This island is hollow. This island is hollow. This island here, hollow. We would go up the stairs to the top. There was 4 or 5 missile batteries that you can see here. That's what these circles are on the top. And a long concrete thing here. And the entrance to all of this was on this side, right in here. And they had like jail doors, iron bars blocking all of these entrances. We bent them. We were kids, you know, so we got a jack from high school metal shop and cranked it in there and separated, and we crawled in, and we were able to go and hang out in all of these bunkers.
You're probably hanging out with missiles. I mean, can you imagine if you pushed the wrong button or did something like kaboom?
You know, I'll tell you how crazy it was, and some shit you just can't make up. So we find this missile launch system, and it hadn't been used, but you could see where the missile was and how it came out of the ground, right? And it was painted white or gray, but all the mechanics are there, the gears and everything, and you could see how the missile sat, right? But down there was a digital crank analog, like a digital clock, and it was like let me pull this down. Everybody, so I can do this correctly. Where is all of my stuff? I don't see it here anymore. Where'd it go? Okay, if I do this, does it go? Okay, anyway, a range finder in the concrete in this missile silo. So facing, and there were these windows, they were like this tall in this operational room, whatever, and you could look out, and right straight across it said range. It was painted, and then it was this long digital, you know, counter thing that was there. And yeah, as a kid seeing all of this, it was so much fun. Yeah, it was great. And
that's
you
a
just
little scary, thinking kids can get in there somehow and whoops.
But here's the thing, this stuff is all over this country. It's all over the place. There are underground things everywhere. You don't know what you're walking over.
No,
you don't.
No.
Out here in the mountains in California, not to dwell on this, but all along the mountains, the Nike missile systems, you can still hike up there. They're all marked, and you can go and look. And this is in Los Angeles in the San Gabriel Mountains. Yeah. So we had them all over the place. Yeah. Right. And you can go up and check it out. You would drive past this normally. You know, you don't know that is an underground bunker, missile silo thing in your neighborhood. No.
Yeah. I often wonder about that with Mount Blanca. I wonder about, you know, the over at Rocky Mountain Ranch with the Palmer Divide. You're driving down I-25 down the highway, and you're passing this thing. And it looks like what's in there?
Yeah, Bill just put
security in it. What is in there?
Bill just put Bill, how do I copy this? Fort Amador missiles, Army, history, content. How do I copy this? That's great. Yeah, so Bill's just pulled that up. This is when I talk about this stuff, and I don't talk about it often, because what I'm showing you, this was just everyday life for me growing up, Katie. Wow. And you know, and I'm glad that people can go out there and look at this, because it kind of backs up my bullshit a little bit. But what about you? You mentioned I I don't want this to get away from us. We've only got a few minutes left. I've spent way too much talking about myself. What about you keep mentioning boxes? What are you referring to?
It's interesting. When I filmed for Beyond Skinwalker for all 3 seasons, a lot of people don't know, but they filmed for a week to get it down to a 44-minute episode. And, they have it all canned. So I brought them to where I had a box encounter in the daytime. I saw one of these strange, mysterious boxes. I didn't talk about them for years and years and years because they're just so crazy. Bill Wall, the undersheriff, saw one of these boxes. A lot of the adults said they saw the boxes, and I just kind of kept it on the down low because I didn't know they were seen anywhere else. But now we're hearing boxes left and right. And even in the UK, Paul Sinclair had a box encounter, went to the archives, and Dave Marler's like, hey, Katie, I saved this chalk drawing of these flying boxes. We just heard the Red Square talked about, at the hearings. So what are these boxes? Trey Hudson had a
he certainly did.
With a box. Now, what's interesting about the boxes, they're different sizes, they're different shapes. I don't know if some are ours, some are theirs. Carl Higdon had a box. Another great case with some great evidence. A shell casing turned inside out. He was shooting at an elk. It hit an invisible wall. It fell to the ground. He meets also one. He's floated these food pills. Are they using the cattle mutilations to make food pills? I don't know. But there's a photograph in the archives of a box impression that burned grass, just like the big 75-foot circles of what is a cube. He said he was transported in a cube along with the elk. So it's interesting. The box I had an encounter with, and when my sister came on for season 3, she remembered a box. So, she's having a PTSD moment, having this memory of this crazy box. And that's something she suppressed for a lot of years. But I had a daytime box encounter. It was probably 18 inches long, maybe 8 inches high. It was illuminated from the inside. It made a strange bee sound or a hum, like if you're standing under electrical wires. And I just know my mom's boyfriend at the time, I was with the youngest son, and we're driving around the Ponderosa Pines behind the ranch house. And he's like, it's a box, get in the truck. We jump in the back of the truck. I look back and that thing was gone. In the APRO report, it states that the Sasquatch, because we had cryptids out there as well. There were actually another strange thing about the Snippy case. There were 2 prints, just 2. And you got to remember, the ground was moist, so you could see all sorts of prints. There are these 2 unusual prints around Snippy's carcass, just 2. They don't look like Sasquatch. They don't look like bear. We don't know what it is. We don't know if it's a large cryptid bird because there's cryptid bird sightings. But anyway, but it says that the Sasquatch said that these boxes are lethal. And in the APRO report, it says the box dropped a Sasquatch to its knees. And some of the adults witnessed this. Now, I don't know if I believe that or if it was one of the FM LSD trips. I don't know. I have a skeptical side of me as well, so I don't believe everything I see or read. But that is reported, and I'm like,
wait, this is really, really interesting. I don't think I've seen a box. I've seen a lot of stuff. I'm just trying to think. No, I don't know if I've seen a box.
Like underground, when you were poking around, you didn't see any weird boxes laying around.
When you hear cubes and boxes, and Trey, who is such a great investigator, but when you look at some of the Navy reports off of the East Coast, something inside a sphere inside of a cube, and we hear this stuff all the time, over and over again. But I haven't seen anything like that. When you saw it, was it solid?
It was solid. It was like a flat black to my memory that was illuminated from the inside. I saw it for very brief. In my memory, though, it was off the ground. But I don't know if I'm just remembering that wrong. Because the other reports, like the Bill Waugh, the sheriff, he sees this box by a tree. He doesn't want to approach it by himself, so he goes and gets a posse sheriff. They go to approach the box, and as they're approaching the box, he said it's as if the tree and the box went underground or vanished. I had a woman come up to me after a conference one time and she said, could the boxes be emitting a frequency or a hum? Because in a lot of these ranchers that I have interviewed through the years, they say that the pastures where the mutilations are being done, the cattle are huddled together and they're calm. And in the adjoining pastures, they're all freaked out. And so are these boxes used to kind of huddle them, to calm them? I don't know. It's a theory that this woman had. And I thought, that's interesting. Maybe because it did emit a sound. It emitted a frequency. Or is it something we're messing with? Is it a black access project? I have no idea.
It reminds me, it's so natural to go here, but 2001: A Space Odyssey, right? The black monolith.
Yeah, right.
And yeah, it's too, it feel, and whenever I bring that up, whenever I bring up Arthur C. Clarke, I should say, Arthur C. Clarke, yeah, creative, yeah, great sci-fi, yeah. Arthur C. Clarke knew shit.
Yeah.
He just
even fieldwork too.
right. It's just crazy how Arthur C. Clarke, and you can even go back to Childhood's End. Now, and you go and you read that, they call it it's a short story. You go back and you read that, and all of that older stuff, including his newer stuff with Gentry Lee and Rama, how he just correctly called the future.
Yeah.
I mean, just amazing. Do you know satellites? He came up with that word.
Yeah, it makes you question the nature of reality itself. Like, how the heck,
Yeah. And you look at I'm wondering when we're going to find a monolith on the moon. I'm wondering when we're going to find something like that on Earth, where we're going to dig something up, and it's going to send out radio signals to Jupiter and then to Alpha Centauri. I don't know. But these are the things that Arthur wrote about, and it just seems to be coming, a part of our reality every day that moves forward. And I don't know why. Did he know stuff? I don't know. Is he so creative that he just thought, this is how it's going to play out in the future, and it is playing out that way? That's equally as cool.
I think he knew stuff. They already found some weird obelisks in Utah. Some weird stuff in Utah. There was an actual, in Elbert County a few years back. There was a MUFON case that came across too. I know you're a Harley rider. There was a couple Harley riders out there at the Castlewood Canyon, and they pulled over their Harleys and they were taking pictures of the sunset. This is an actual case that came across in Colorado, and in this is like this weird boxy obelisk kind of cube coming from. I don't know. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. I have no explanation for what they caught or captured, but So, and it kind of reminded me of what they discovered in Utah. So I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I know. And then they disappeared a week later. And but the monolith on Phobos on Mars,
right?
It's Arthur C. Clarke. Katie, you're the absolute very best, and I look forward to having you back on the show anytime you want. You just let us know. We've got the links up to your new YouTube channel. Again, everybody, Katie lost her YouTube channel last week. She's got a new one up. I want all of you to go follow, like, and subscribe to Katie. Follow all of her great work, and of course, the new book with Tony on Snippy. All of that, we've got your website below. Katie, thank you so much. You're the absolute very best.
Thank you. Thanks thanks everybody.
Enjoy the rest of your night. Katie Paige, everybody. What a great conversation. And tomorrow night, I'll tell you right now what I've got going on tomorrow night. I will tell you in 2 seconds. Tomorrow night is Reverend Peter Panagori. All right, tomorrow night. Peter died. Then he came back. He wrote a book or two, and he's a reverend. He's a TV host. He's out there. Tomorrow night, we're going to get the whole story. What did he see? What happened? and what is there to share with the rest of the world. All of that tomorrow night with Reverend Peter. Until then, I'm your host, Jimmy Church. All I've got is Gobekli Tepe. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee Newman, and Michelle Freed. Special thanks to Bill, John, Dex, Jessica, Dennis, and Kevin. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music by Doug Aldrich. Intro, Space Boy. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2024 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Gobekli Tepe.